going on, New York Yankee fans? Welcome back to another video. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. I apologize for my inactivity in terms of the Yankees content. A lot of Giants stuff, obviously in season. The Giants are 3-6. If y'all want to know that, if you don't want to know that, then well, obviously focus on the Yankee section of this video. And we're going to go into it. So, obviously, everything is subject to change because of the MLB work stoppage and stuff like that. But free agency is still happening. The Arizona Fall League is still happening. All these other things still happening, right? So, let's talk about one of the things that has been looming around Yankee land for a while now. And talks and talks and talks about the shortstop position. Now, we all know that the Yankees have a hole at shortstop. I would not continue to put Gleyber Torres at shortstop. He did end the season at second base. And there is potential that he could be moved in a trade for Matt Olson, and a trade for a catcher, and a trade for Jose Ramirez. There's a lot of trades you could put him in, and teams will likely take him. Because he is 24 or under 24, under 25, and he still has room to grow. But the problem is that the Yankees are a win-now team. They're not a rebuilding team, and they really can't be going back and teaching Gleyber Torres everything about the shortstop position. And a lot of Gleyber's errors have been due to mental errors and just it's mental part of the game while it's also a physical part of the game. And the Yankees, they really don't have time to fix all of that. And listen, if you make an error or two there, a month, week, whatever span you want to line it along, but Gleyber Torres is not a good shortstop. He is not a good shortstop, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, he's holding the team back. Yes and no. But without the nonsense of getting into it, a shit ton and talking about just Gleyber Torres. Let's talk about the shortstop position, some of the free agents, and what the Yankees could do. So, this is a very controversial topic among Yankee fans, among the Yankees themselves, and just content creators as well. How do you go about it? Free agency, or you go out and hope Oswaldo Peraza is ready for the spring? I have a feeling of how they're going to go about it. I think they're going to sign one of the big shortstops, whether it be Semien, Correa, Corey Seager. One of those guys, in my opinion, will be signed by the Yankees because I don't think they're going to be looking in their system for a prospect. Now, you could say, oh, well, what are they going to do with that prospect if they go out and sign Correa or Seager? They're probably going to end up trading him. Anthony Volpe is a guy that's been looming in Yankee talks, content creating talks. Like, many people think in the Yankees organization that he could be the next Jeter, and there's a lot of hope for the kid. I also got a baseball signed by him when I went to a Hudson Valley Renegades game against the Cyclones. That's not important right now, but Oswaldo Peraza as well, he's close to Major League ready. A lot of people could argue he was ready, but the Yankees decided to call up Andrew Velazquez, which was majorly criticized by people who actually knew who Oswaldo Peraza was, rather than rooting for the Yankee platoon players and all these hype players. Oh, Andrew Velazquez, win the World Series with us. No. I'm going to try my best moving forward not to be on that hype train. Oh, Andrew Velazquez and Wandy Peralta are going to win the World Series with us. No. Let's get down to the basic facts and realism here. So, I want to talk about Seager and Correa. I'll go into Semien a little bit. The Yankees have had talks with the agents of Correa and Seager, but I also want to talk about not just the stats, but the controversy behind it, because we all know there's controversy, right? So let's talk about Seager. This year, he hit 306, 66 strikeouts, total of 16 home runs. I think it's 67 RBIs. Yes, I apologize. The paper really didn't print well. That's what I use. One stolen base, 48 walks, 66 strikeouts, as I already mentioned. Only 95 games 469 plate appearances and 108 hits. And you look at his playoff stuff in the wild card game, he struck out twice and walked once, so I believe he was 0 for 3. You take a look at the NLDS against San Francisco, he hit 238 and a total of 21 at-bats and 24 at-bats. In the NLCS against the Atlanta Braves, he hit 167, a total of 9 strikeouts in 24 at-bats, 27 plate appearances. So, what can I say in terms of playoff numbers, really? Because, people talk about, and I'll get to this on a major note in terms of hypocritical stuff in a second, but a lot of people are talking about Correa's playoff numbers. And sure, that's a point, but Corey Seager's playoff numbers are not anything to write home about either. So let's talk about Carlos Correa, obviously very infamous. So he actually did earn a Gold Glove and an All-Star selection. 26 home runs, 92 RBIs, 116 Ks, 279 hitter, 75 walks, 155 hits, 104 runs, 555 at-bats with 640 plate appearances in 148 games. Then you take a look, as I mentioned, playoff stats. In the ALDS against Chicago, he hit 385. You take a look in the ALCS against Boston, he hit 250, which, to start off, I believe that series, he really didn't hit well. And then you take a look at the last series, the World Series, of course, he hit 261. He struck out twice in the LDS, 7 times against Boston, and 4 times against Atlanta. So take that as what you will. Marcus Semien, I want to talk about him a little bit before we go into some other stuff regarding the controversy. And then we'll go into prospects and some things that the Yankees could do to really relieve of the prospects and unneeded players at shortstop if they elect to go with the Correa or Corey Seager. So, in terms of Marcus Semien, I thought he had a good year. 45 home runs, 102 RBIs, joining that group of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and all these other guys on the Blue Jays, which I really think is going to be a good team. The Blue Jays will be a good team next year. They finished 4th in the division. I don't see why not that they, don't improve. A very young team, but we'll see what happens. But in terms of Semien, as I mentioned, 45 home runs, 102 RBIs, 146 strikeouts, 66 walks, 265 batting average, 724 plate appearances, and 162 games, which is actually really interesting. I did not know that Marcus Semien played all 162. So that just shows that availability is one of the best abilities. So I want to talk about the controversy. And a lot of people have different viewpoints across the Yankees community, which is fine and well. There is one side of the fan base that says, "Oh, get Correa. He's the best player possible at shortstop. You need to get Correa. Blah 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 blah." There's the other side of the fan base that says, "Well, don't get Correa because he ripped Derek Jeter in a recent interview, and says that he shouldn't have won the Gold Glove awards. At least I think that's what he said. He's also ripped the Yankees a few times. Aaron Judge is really not keen on him and has a lot of malice towards that 2017 Astros team and anyone that's coming from it, except for Garrett Cole, obviously, because he's on the team. And that's a split. You see a lot of the older Yankee fans ranging to one side that says, don't get Correa. You see a lot of millennial Yankee fans saying, get Correa, who gives a crap? And here's where I'm going to be the peacemaker, the Dr. Phil of the situation. I agree with somewhat of both sides, right? You can't avoid controversy forever, and there's a lot of hypocrisy within these 2 points. So let's talk about the first point. Yeah, let's get Correa. Brian Cashman obviously said, we're going to not really cater to the fan reactions. And, that's a good point, but you're saying that now. The issue I have a little bit with that quote is that, yeah, last year you sucked, and, the fans were saying fire Boone and all this and that, and some of the right things were coming out of their mouths, and you didn't do it. And I'm just going to bring this up once. I'm not going to go on a tangent about it because I've probably discussed it before. The Yankees have to overlap themselves with talent because they don't have a manager who gets the most out of players. If Gleyber Torres was on a Joe Girardi team, a Brian Snitker team, some of these teams with these older managers, these coaches as well, like Ron Washington. If the Yankees had Ron Washington, I think they would be a better fielding team. And Gleyber Torres is not a good fielder, so you have to scoop him out of here and go get a guy like Correa or Seager. Also, you talk about first base, right? Manager not getting the most out of the players. And once again, it's on the coaches, it's on the players as well. A lot of people are talking about, let's get Matt Olson, Anthony Rizzo is not enough, and let's trade Luke Voit. Once again, that goes to that argument. Talking about upgrading in center field. Aaron Hicks clearly hasn't been the player the last 2 years that Yankee fans have wanted him to be. And once again, Yankees are talking about making upgrades in center field. Really haven't discussed anything about Joey Gallo or any other positions. Catcher as well. A lot of teams, they really don't have good offensive catchers, but catchers who can play defense, Gary Sanchez is not a catcher like that. It's offense and no defense. Sorry, not sorry. I'll pull up the picture for some of you who want to contest me on that. But I want to get back to the original argument of if the Yankees had a real manager, they could go out and put Oswald Peraza or Anthony Volpe as their shortstop, develop them, and they still would be a winning team. They still would be first, second in the division, whatever. And the more controversial side of the Correa hype train is, well, he cheated. That's one side of the argument. Let me go to the other side because that's really the train I was on. Not in terms of viewpoints, but in terms of where I was going with this. They say, oh, screw the boomers, screw, their viewpoints. Let's get Correa, let's get everybody, right? Here's where I stand on that. Aaron Judge apparently, once again, has some malice towards that team and doesn't really have good feelings towards them. And personally, I don't blame him. On the millennial side of things, you cannot worry about a player's feelings hindering getting somebody like Correa, getting somebody that's controversial, right? At the same time, you don't want any more locker room drama. And there's a lot of Yankee fans out there. I'm going to say it because I'm a fan. It's not like, oh, Michael Kay or this guy and that guy. I'm a Yankee fan first, then a content creator. A lot of Yankee fans were upset when that story came out about Brett Gardner joking around with Garrett Cole, and they got upset. They said, oh, Gardner off the team, let him retire, rest in hell, whatever. I don't know even to the extent and the lengths of what they said, but they hate Gardner. And I didn't hate Gardner. Me personally, I just didn't like the way he played. I don't hate a player because, they got on somebody's nerves or something like that. But you just have to be less hypocritical about it, and then you win the argument. But let's go to the other side where it says, let's not get Correa. Controversy, this, that, and the other thing. Correa is a good player. He's a good player. Cheating, to make light of the situation may have helped that. But let's talk turkey here. Carlos Correa is a good shortstop. Corey Seager is a good shortstop. You can't be prospect hugging. The Yankees have a horrible player development system. And it's not all their fault because Brian Cashman has certainly had a hand in that mess as well. Miguel Andujar, Clint Frazier, those guys haven't worked out. They were supposed to be top-tier prospects. So that's why a lot of Yankee fans on the millennial side of things are like, oh, win now, get that player, screw the prospects, trade prospects away. So I'm going to be the peacemaker in terms of this situation. I don't disagree with what the older Yankee fans are saying and, oh, Correa's a cheater, this, that, and the other thing. Also something that a lot of Yankee fans really don't want to bring up in terms of the millennial side of things when they're talking about, who cares what Judge thinks. Aaron Judge is the captain of this team. I don't care what anyone says. He's the captain of this team. And with that being said, that needs to be the number one priority this offseason. Screw shortstop, screw catcher. You need to re-sign Aaron Judge and not let him test free agency next year. Because if that happens, it's over. You could forget a World Series. You could forget this, that, and the other thing. There's going to be no leadership at all. But let's jump back to earth for 20 seconds here. You really can't care about a player's feelings. You really can't hug prospects because they're called prospects. They're not proven major league players yet. On the other hand, you need to care a little bit about the feelings of Aaron Judge because he is the captain. He has been here for a while now, and he is essentially a leader on this team. But also as well, the Yankees have been going the free agent route in many aspects, and some of it has not worked. So there's a level playing field on both sides with hypocrisy. So I'm going to read the stats of Anthony Volpe and Oswald Peraza before I get into what my final viewpoint is, what the Yankees can do, whatever. So Anthony Volpe spent time with two teams, Tampa and Hudson Valley. Hudson Valley is where I saw him. 16 home runs, 37 RBIs, total of 58 strikeouts, 286 batting average. He hit .302 with Tampa in a total of 54 games. And take a look at Oswald Peraza. He spent time with three teams: Hudson Valley, Somerset, and Scranton Wilkes-Barre at the end. He hit 286 with Scranton, 294 with Somerset, and 306 with Hudson Valley. So he's a good player. He's one of the most ready prospects in the Yankees organization. And if they don't go the route of free agent shortstop, I think they should put him in the major leagues, LeMahieu at second, trade Torres for Matt Olson or something like that, because that can definitely be done. Now, Torres is not going to be the only player in one of those trades. You know, the Oakland Athletics are not stupid, even though they did let Bob Melvin just walk out of their stadium. But with that being said, here's where I'm a little confused. Brian Cashman said these two things one about Volpe and one on Oswald Peraza. Oswald Peraza could play shortstop defensively in the big leagues right now. He also says about Volpe, is he capable of playing short? Yes, that was when he was asked if he was the long-term shortstop. So here's what I'm going to say about that. Oswald Peraza, in my opinion, could be a good hitter in the major leagues. Steals bases. Defensively, as Brian Cashman has put on the table, yeah, he could play shortstop defensively right now. And that's what the Yankees need. They need someone who's a balanced hitter and is good at playing shortstop. But once again, we come back to this argument of, oh, well, we need Correa. And once again, the reason why the Yankee fans want Correa, and a lot of people don't realize it, but the manager, once again, does not get the most out of his players. So you have to overcompensate with talent. You have to get every high name possible. You have to get a popular name almost at every position because, well, your manager is basically either a puppet or he just doesn't get the most out of his players. Some things you could do with Gleyber Torres before I get down to my final verdict in terms of this video. Matt Olson. Obviously, Yankee fans have talked about him. I'm not against him. Him or Rizzo is fine with me. I'll take him or Rizzo. Olson's good. He probably had his best season last year with the Athletics. They're doing a fire sale likely over there. So, in terms of if the Yankees wanted to trade for him, they would probably have to give up Andujar, Voit, Torres, Clark Schmidt, maybe David Garcia or Jason Dominguez. And in that situation, I'm going to say this. Don't give up your whole farm system for one player. But also, don't hug them like you have a spot for them in the next 2 to 3 years. Jason Dominguez is like 3-4 years away, in my opinion, because he's still got some stuff to clean up. But with that being said, though, the Yankees outfield really does not look vacant. Judge, Stanton, if they re-sign Gallo, if they get Starling Marte, some of these guys, whatever. Jacob Stallings, he's under the control of the Pittsburgh Pirates till 2025. So if they want to trade for him as a stopgap, probably Garcia, Torres, even though their infield looks, I would say, somewhat stable for right now, Clark Schmidt. And then if you want to trade for Jose Ramirez, Volpe maybe, Dominguez, Pereira, Torres, not give up the whole farm system for Ramirez, even though he's a good hitter. He's a decent ball player. He's one that I would like to get. So with that being said, I'm going to finish up the video right now. I would not necessarily care as much if the Yankees got Correa, if they got Seager. If Correa tones down the bullshit talk, if there's no problems in the locker room, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. But if Judge doesn't like it, I could care less, but also he's the captain. So they have to just make an upgraded shortstop. They do. Prospect hugging, that's not going to get you too far in the major leagues if you don't have a manager, if you don't have proper coaches around you. So the argument for Corey Seager could be, oh, well, he's not great of a fielder, but he's a lefty. The Yankees need lefties, short porch and right field. So personally, I would lean more towards the free agent route. I would also like to see Oswald Peraza as a Yankee because I could potentially see him as a major league shortstop, and he's good defensively, which is something that the Yankees haven't had in a long time, ever since Gleyber has been the shortstop. So if you guys haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when live stream pops video drops. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming back. Peace out. See you later. Stay cool.